I am back live right here at TV 33, WHPR, Comcast 90, and Comcast 91, all over the world, courtesy of the World Wide Web. Now I have someone with me who's not a stranger to the city of Detroit. He's not a stranger to most people. He's out and about, and he now is getting ready. Well, they're launching. Well, you'll hear it. Let's have Mr. Drake Phifer. Hi, Drake.
Hi, Brenda. How you doing this morning?
I'm great. I'm great. I'm great. Wasn't that a great interview?
That was a great interview. I mean, listening to Ian and just talk, I really enjoyed it thoroughly. I mean, I could have listened to more, and it seemed like you all were both a wellspring of good conversation. So, as your show, I guess, pulls out of people,
Oh, you're being good. Now, Drake, I'm just going to do a little background work on you. So, in case the audience doesn't know, in case those few people who don't know about you, where'd you graduate from high school?
I graduated from Benedictine High School here in Detroit,
Did
which
you have Mr. Mack?
I did.
Yeah, I saw Mr. Mack a couple
Sister
months
Jack
ago.
and Mr.
Wait,
Mackey.
Mr. Mack was my
Mr.
high
Mack.
school government teacher.
Is that right?
And I saw him 2 months, no, in September.
Really?
I've been looking for that man for almost 50 years.
Wow.
Because he told me when I was in school,
Yes.
he gave me a C in government because he told my mother, well, she can't write.
So you went to a Catholic school as well.
Oh, yeah.
Where'd you go?
St. Teresa.
Okay.
It's no more. But anyway, he told my mother that. And I've been looking for that man. And so I found him. There was a reunion of another class, and I went to him. And they said, Mr. Mack is here. I said, he's still alive.
I know.
He still had the crew cut.
He is a true blockhead.
Yeah, he had the crew
I mean,
cut.
really.
And I went up to him. I
Tough
said,
guy.
Mr. Mack, you told my mother, I've been waiting. You know how you wait to
Yeah.
tell somebody something. And I said, you told me, I told him I couldn't write. I told her I couldn't write, and you gave me a C, not because I didn't know the content, because you said I wasn't a good writer. And I said, I've written several books. I wrote for a newspaper. I was giving him all this stuff.
Yeah.
He said, I probably told you that because I didn't know how to write. I said, well, dang, you give me this torture, and I'm
right.
carrying this on my back all
Yeah,
these years.
he could have given you the benefit of the doubt,
I
but hey, I
know.
guess it's water under the bridge,
So you
right?
went to Benedictine.
I went to Benedictine, and
You
then
know, as
from
black people say Benedictine, the white people say Benedictine.
well, tomato.
Yeah, okay.
I graduated with a well-known, at least locally and maybe even nationally, personality, and I won't mention their name, but their name was pronounced one way when we were
Well, you
in
gotta
high
mention
school.
the name.
She may be watching. She can watch. I mean, she won't be mad. But Joycelyn Allen, who's a very good
Yes.
friend of mine and a classmate,
Yes.
we used to call her Jocelyn.
Yeah.
But no, you cannot call Joycelyn Jocelyn anymore. You'll be in
I
trouble.
know.
I'll probably be in trouble
Oh,
with her.
It'll be all good. It's all good. We're
Hearing me
friends
say that.
of the show.
Yes.
She's my friend. Anyway.
But you're right. I mean, different.
And then you went to where?
Discourse communities. Then I went to Morehouse.
Morehouse, right.
Graduated from Morehouse.
Were
One
you
of my
glad you
proudest
went to
accomplishments.
Morehouse?
Absolutely. I feel that going to Morehouse was, I always say that you meet the kind of African American students. You meet the kind of students who just so happen to share your skin color, but maybe nothing else that you would not meet at a majority school. You meet the kind of students that offer the kind of diversity of experience in a university or collegiate setting that really expands your worldview in a way that I think that you don't get in a lot of other places.
Right, that historically black college situation, like you say, it expands what you know about the world too.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, having classmates from Zimbabwe and having classmates from the Ivory Coast, having classmates from Portland, Oregon to Portland, Maine, and all points in between is significant. And I can't underscore enough how enriching of an experience it was, and I don't even think I appreciated it fully while I was there. I probably would have taken more I probably would have paid more attention to my studies. But I will say this: I have a couple of friends. One of my friends is a I don't know if he's been on the show before, but he's not from here. Gordon Chambers.
I know exactly who Gordon Chambers is. He used to work for Ebony, didn't he?
Absolutely, he used to for Essence. He was the
Well, he was with Ebony at one time. When I was on tour, I
hmm
met somebody. This was 15 years ago,
right.
16 years ago. I don't know, sometime around
hmm
that. He was with Ebony, then Essence.
hmm hmm
Or it was something. I know he did some stint at Ebony because
He
had
probably
this
did.
play, Black Nativity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he's also a singer-songwriter and a Grammy Award-winning songwriter for Aretha Franklin, Anita Baker, Brownstone. In his own right, he's a great singer
I'd love
and
to
has his
interview
own.
him.
So
I'd
next
love
time he
to.
comes to Detroit, I'll make certain I let you know.
Oh,
But he was in Atlanta this past homecoming in October. One of my classmates is one of his cousins, and he called me while he was there. He's a Brown graduate, but he says Drake. He says, you know something? I have never been in an environment where there were so many confident-looking African Americans in my life. He
isn't
said,
that?
he said I just was astounded. He says I did not know that this experience was like this. He said you hear about it. He says, but to have seen it. He says, and you nor my cousin really have that classic Morehouse mystique kind of thing because you guys are just down to earth kind of guys. He says, I said, but you know what, Gordon? I said it's like the West Indians in speaking patois. You know, when you
Yeah.
get back with your family, you speak that common language, and what you probably just saw was a collective energy and a collective spirit and a pride that we all shared.
Right,
hmm
right, absolutely,
hmm
absolutely. And then, what was your major?
English.
And why did you major in English? Were you planning to be a lawyer like your dad?
I was planning to be a lawyer. That was why I majored in English. And one of his things was if you are going to go into law school, you have to know how to read and write, and you have to know the language.
Yeah, that's what we tell the young people, in fact, to major in English,
hmm
not political science,
Right.
English.
Yeah.
But then what happened?
Then I decided that I didn't have a passion and a fervor for law. I wasn't. I just it just didn't seem like something that I wanted to do, especially at that time. I wasn't really interested. I wasn't driven to go the direction of law. I think in hindsight that probably may not have been the best decision, but
Well,
I'll tell you, and I'll say why. Because one of the things that I realize in the African American community is that we legacy. Sometimes it's good to put your own lights in the background
to
for the
preserve
to
legacy.
preserve legacy. I think there's a strength in continuing a a venture that has been started by a relative and continuing that into the future, even sometimes when it requires sacrificing, at least for some short period of time, your own goals, dreams, and desires.
Oh, that's really interesting. Really, really interesting because the legacy is important.
Absolutely.
And but
But it is what it
sometimes
is
you
now.
could build your own legacy, too. And there are ways to almost incorporate the law.
Absolutely.
There are ways to do that. So don't don't feel like that.
Yeah.
Legacy can
I mean,
continue.
and I feel like I'm continuing my family's legacy in a huge way through the work that I do in the city and through a lot
Yes.
of the things that I touch and put my hands on. So I'm not um, dismayed about the decision not to, but but I just say
You think
sometimes
about it.
I do think about that.
And
And
that's natural. So, when you came back here, or how long did you stay in Atlanta? What happened there?
I lived in Atlanta for almost a decade.
Oh, okay.
And but I've been back here for what 18, 19 years now, so that just shows you how long it's been. And I enjoyed Atlanta. I never intended to come back to Detroit. It was never my goal. In fact, I was just to show you how life throws you a curveball. I said I'll never return back to that city. I mean, I would come back to visit, but I came back and I decided that I wanted to be part of the solution. I was here for a few weeks after a brief visit, and then I had gotten an offer to work at a nonprofit here, Focus Hope, and I decided to take it. I said, I'll stay here for a year. Well, a year has turned into what we have now.
Well, they say never say never.
Never say never.
And so you worked with Focus Hope, you worked with the museum, correct?
Correct. I worked with Focus Hope. I worked with the Charles H. Wright. So I really have had a good steeping in the nonprofit world over the time period, over the years that I've been
I'm
here.
going to tell you a secret. You almost had a television show if I would have pursued it, but I got busy with other things. No, because I was asked um, to produce this television show
Yes.
named after this magazine by
Is
the
that right?
publisher, but it was an out and about type thing.
Okay.
And I said, I know exactly who could host it because he's always out and about and just have a camera with you.
Absolutely.
So it's something that, well, you've gotten so busy now, but you know how you go to certain events, and then you're the creative Urban Organic.
Absolutely.
Tell the audience what Organic is.
Urban Organic is a company that I founded. We're now in our 15th year, and it's a company that I founded to present and produce artists who I have enjoyed listening to, through my recording devices and listening devices, but wanted to add dimension to that experience and bring them to the fore by presenting them in a live music setting and connecting them to a music hungry, culture loving audience. And that's something that's one of the things that I'm very proud to say that I was able to achieve and have achieved, and being able to do that has been able to help the careers of a number of different artists
Right.
who have gone on
Can you
to
name some of those artists?
Kim, Ledisi, Raheem Devon, Jasmine Sullivan,
Anthony Davis.
Anthony David, who's been on your show before, and a whole host of artists that were not known to very many people when I first started working with them, but are very well known to their audiences
So now
now.
you're working for Real Times Media. Tell us about the company and tell us what's happening.
Real Times Media. I am the director of marketing and special events for Real Times Media, and it's a great time at Real Times Media because we are. I mean, this is there's so many different things happening. We're celebrating. Well, first of all, let me give you a little background on what Real Times Media is. Real Times Media is the parent company of the Atlanta Daily World, the Chicago Defender, the Pittsburgh New Courier, as well as our very own Michigan Chronicle, and 25 who's who publications throughout the United States. We are also a marketing services company which offers different marketing services for different corporations, both locally as well as nationally.
Really?
And so we are a growing enterprise, and it's my job to, I see it as my job to make people know that Real Times is a not only a lot of people here says, oh, you work for the Michigan Chronicle, and I say, well, no, the Michigan Chronicle kind of works for Real Times, and I want people to understand that Real Times, we should be very proud to have in our city the kind of company that has the kind of tentacles that Real Times has.
Well, tell people how it's important to Detroit, too, to have this, because a lot of people don't realize it.
Well, first of all, let me say this: just like your show is important, just like many African American controlled and owned media outlets are important. It's important, there is a legacy, there's a history with the Chronicle. We're celebrating 80 years of existence with the Chronicle this year, and it's important because not only are we proud of the fact that the Chronicle has been around that long, but it's an essential voice that speaks to a segment of the Detroit population in a way that no other publication here does. And sometimes we don't necessarily see ourselves reflected in the mainstream press
Right.
in the way that we do in the press that we control on our own. And I think that that cannot be devalued in any way. You know, I mean, it's a very powerful thing to be able to say, look, we can create a story, we can help create a narrative, we can refute a narrative, we can do so many different
Yes.
things on our own through. We can disseminate information that is important to the community, and even though at large the newspaper industry is on a decline because papers like the Pittsburgh New Courier, the Chronicle, the Chicago Defender, and Atlanta Daily World are niche audiences. The appeal to niche audiences, their decline is overstated. I mean, we are in relative good health compared to a lot of our other newspaper counterparts because we're not because we do have a special focus and we do have a very specialized audience.
Okay, you have an event coming up next week.
We do. Real Times presents Driven. This is the sixth edition of Driven, a tribute to
I
multicultural
thought it was
achievement.
16. It was 6.
Well, you what you saw is
Oh, 1960. I mean,
that's
2016.
right, 2016, the
Yes.
2016 version of Driven,
Okay.
and is the sixth edition of Driven,
Right.
and it is a tribute to multicultural achievement in the automotive industry. And what we are proud of, what it is that it is an experience, and that experience is capped off by the unveiling of a publication that presents some of the stalwarts of the automotive industry that are really doing things and really making a lot of noise.
Now, how were these people selected?
You know what? It is really there's a lot of tug and play as it relates to the selection process. You know, while it is somewhat organic, there's a lot of dialectic involved internally in our office and externally with different suppliers, different automotive manufacturers themselves. We actually, in concert with the suppliers and automotives, mine what we feel are at that time the state of the moment talent.
Okay, and so you go out and seek who these people are and so forth, and then people vote on who's in the book or the placement in the book. I'm just saying those who
No, it's
do
not that.
those
It's
who
not that. It's not that systematic. You know, really, it is. Like I said, it's a very organic process, and like the Wizard of Oz, I can't really reveal all of our techniques, but I will say that it is. It's an arduous process in that there's a lot of back and forth about who's going to be included.
we should have brought a book from last year so you
You
could
know what? We
see.
should have brought a book, and I am remiss in that I probably should have brought that. So next time I will
Yes.
bring a book.
Yeah, so you could see it. It's a wonderful publication, but it's wonderful for people. You know, people look at the auto industry or the heads of the auto industry as totally white.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely. And what's happening is there's the browning of America. Be African Americans, Asian Americans, Latino Americans are increasingly becoming a more important factor economically for these companies. So they have to make a play. There is no total marketing anymore. You can't just make an ad for a- I guess white
okay, well,
Americans.
that's what I was gonna
You can't
say
make an ad for white Americans and just say, "Oh, this is going to appeal
to
to
everybody.
everybody." No, you got to figure out how to communicate
Okay,
to
well, we
everyone.
have a few minutes. I just want to you to tell. Well, are there any tickets left?
There are tickets left. You can find out more information, and if anybody's listening to your show right now,
Watching.
based off of the strength of the relationship that we have with Brenda Perryman, we are going to offer a few tickets. If they call and say that they saw me on this show, I will give the first 20 people that call 313-963-8100
313-963-8100.
and say my name and say that they heard me on this show. we will give them tickets to Driven.
Tell them who's going to be there and speaking and everything real quick.
Well,
Go
I'll just
ahead.
tell a few things because there's a lot of ground to cover. But I will say this: we're giving away a couple of awards. We're giving away award to Vivian Pickard of General Motors, philanthropic pioneer award. We're giving two companies of the year awards. One to Bridgewater Interiors, and the other to the Lear Corporation for the work that they've done. And excuse me, and the talent that caps off the evening is none other than the Grammy Award winning producer Jermaine Dupri, who will wrap up the evening DJing. And so we're gonna, while we pay tribute and homage to the people that have achieved great heights in the automotive industry, we're gonna have a little bit of fun with Jermaine Dupri as he comes in and
It's going to be a
wraps up
great
the evening.
night. Where is it?
It's at the Garden Theater,
Right on Woodward.
right on Woodward, located in Midtown, and we're going to have a great time for everybody who is interested in coming out. It's going to be a wonderful time, and I guarantee you
Give
that.
that number again.
313-963-8100.
Wow, it's going to be a heck of a night.
It's going to be a heck of a night.
Drake, thank you so much. I'm running to the end now.
Thank you,
We
Brenda.
got so talking.
Well,
My fault.
it is much appreciated. Thank you for having
And
me
thank
on.
you for coming. He's a friend of the show and a friend of mine. So we'll be back in just a few moments with Table Talk with Brenda Perryman, with King Coleman, Dr. Rose Moten, and Ian Solomon. We'll see you in just a few minutes.